Limbus Company has just launched its very first collaboration with Arknights. Along with a new story mode and plenty of lore crumbs, you already know why you're here. Yep, it's time for an E.G.O analysis. Are they bad? Are they good? Or are they downright OP? Most importantly, are they worth your lunacy? Let's find out. First E.G.O that we will cover is the welfare E.G.O, which is Ishmael's E.G.O, Tidal Elegy, which was based on Skadi and is a 3-weight gloom blunt E.G.O that on awakening gets bonus damage if it only hit a single target. Boss parts does not count as a different targets, by the way, so this E.G.O could deal insane damage towards bosses that has a lot of parts. While other E.G.O or skill benefit from high affinity or stings resistance, Tidal Elegy benefit from it even more since you get even more damage the higher the enemy gloom's resistance is. To be completely honest, the infliction you get from her awakening is basically non-existent, but she has a tremor burst, which is cool, I guess. But you know what is cooler? Even cooler than her animations? Her damage. This is what her skill does from my calculation. Yes, on bosses, if it has 1.4 gloom resistance, which is very uncommon since 1.5 is more common, she deals 235 damage on a single target and 144 damage per enemy. Sounds not much, but this doesn't factor external stuffs, and the attack type affinity is times 1. The theoretical maximum damage from my calculation is 484 damage. But with this wording, she can deal for up to 1452 damage, which is honestly quite incredible. Especially with the fact that it's on awakening and you only need 4 gloom and 2 pride to do it. For corrosion, it's a little bit lower, even when compared to the AoE version, with only 78 damage per enemy. But it hits more enemy and it buffs other with blunt damage up and even gloom damage up as well if the conditions are met. Corrosion is a little bit weak, but I think it's fine considering how insane the damage on the awakening is. Especially if the enemy are fatal to gloom. But there's the problem. If the enemy are not fatal to gloom, or you don't have gloom resonance, the damage will be considerably lower. Her passive is quite nice as well since she'll get 1 clash power and 11.5% damage after clash wins against bosses. And will gain speed and clash if she's returned or substituted in. In my opinion, this is the best used with Molar Ishmael since she has tremor and stinging as well, but not necessarily locked into that unit, since as long as the enemy is gloom fatal, you can just use it on any Ishmael identities that you want. In other words, it's like Wing Beat but more stable, and deal even more damage in certain conditions. As for Faust, she got Command Meltdown, which was based on Kal'tsit, and it's a 3 attack with Pierce Gluttony that inflict burn and rupture, and heal both HP and SV for you or your teammates. She has a unique status called Hardened Shell Barrier that gives defense level and protection to Faust when getting hit, making her tankier. Damage wise, it's not that much since her main goal is not to deal damage, but to heal and tank, which in my opinion is a good thing for newer players that might struggle. Her corrosion, on the other hand, have more AoE and a little more damage, and potentially shield as well, making her even tankier. Her passive is where it shines though. The ability for her to heal herself and up to 2 allies with the lowest HP every turn is a nice addition, especially if you're fighting enemies that can whittle you down. But keep in mind that if you use another E.G.O other than this, the Hardened Shell Barrier stack will go down faster until you use this E.G.O again. In my opinion, this E.G.O could be used with any ID as long as they have a lot of HP, since it is based on Faust's max HP. But overall, it's just a healing / tanking E.G.O, and since I'm pretty biased towards damage, I have to rate it a little bit lower. But as a healing / tanking E.G.O, it is very good and potentially even better than Fluid Sac in some scenario. As for Honglu, he got 2 remain oneself Ning Wu, which was based on Ling and it's a 4 attack with pride / kill that gains poise and deal more damage when crit. While Faust gets 1 unique status, Honglu got 2, called Thunderer and Higher Thunderer. Thunderer gives offense level, defense level, attack weight and damage, while Higher Thunderer does what Thunderer do, but higher. When using E.G.O in Awakening for the first time, you will use less E.G.O resources and SP since it will be pretty bad. But after that, you'll get Thunderer. And if you use the E.G.O again, you'll get Higher Thunderer, which will last for 5 turns. The damage itself isn't bad since it's a 5 up to 7 AoE damage. But you need to basically spam the E.G.O from normal to Thunderer, then Higher Thunderer. Outside of the E.G.O, Thunderer and Higher Thunderer gives Honglu 1% more damage for every stack lost during the encounter for up to 15%. So it's more damage for Honglu. It also gives out either slot, gloom or bright resources as well. In my opinion, this is a good AoE E.G.O for you to use, and deal more damage than Tears of the Tarnished Blood Corrosion. The fact that it's poised as well meant it will complement Lord Lu nicely, as it is a symbiote relationship between them. What I don't like about the E.G.O is the fact that I have to basically spam this E.G.O to get Higher Thunderer and for the passive, which was just 15%, but you have to use the E.G.O 4 times. Overall, good damaging AoE E.G.O, did the jumpstart to kick things up, but once things is running, it deals nice damage. As for the last one, Gregor, he got Unbrilliant Glory, which was based on Wenar, and is a slot / E.G.O that needs an activation, or just overclock it once I guess. But unlike the other similar E.G.O that need activation, if you use the Awakening version to activate it, you'll consume fewer resources and even get some buffs. While Faust gets 1 unique status and Honglu gets 2, Gregor here gets only 1 unique status called Man in Scabbard, which gives aggro, protection, and buffs when using the E.G.O. There are multiple ways to get Man in Scabbard, but keep in mind that you can only get a maximum of 20 Scabbard per turn, and keep a total of 40 Scabbard. You only want to use this E.G.O when you have 40 Man in Scabbard, since it will give you way more damage, protection, attack weight, and even cashback on the E.G.O resources. This E.G.O deals a lot of damage considering how little cost it has and how fast can you spam it, which is every 3 turns after the first E.G.O for activation. Meanwhile, the corrosion was a little bit disappointing, especially if you overclock it. More resources spent, but less damage overall, and even less attack weight. So it's best just to spam its Awakening once every 3 turns. I think there's nobody that can utilize this E.G.O correctly and align with its keyword right now. But the closest one, it will be Priest Gregor, since he will have a lot of HP, and he will lose his HP due to bleed, meaning it's very easy for him to lose HP to gain Scabbard, in which you need 30 HP loss per turn to maximize your Scabbard gain. Priest Gregor high stagger bar doesn't matter as well since its passive can make him recover from stagger. Overall, a very good E.G.O to spam. Shame that there's no Tremor / Burn Gregor ID that can utilize this passive well. So, after hearing all 4 E.G.O analysis, what are your thoughts? Personally, if I have to rank them, I will go Gregor, Ishmael, Honglu, then Faust. But if you are starting new, maybe Faust will rank higher for you since you might need healing. But that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and help me reach 10k subs, and see you next time. Goodbye.